Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the B Team podcast where Ben has figured out how to exactly milk how as much time as physically possible before the show so he can arrive sort of on time.
And then he disappears as
and
our
he's gone.
video plays.
He showed up, we started, he ran off to grab a beer. Oh my God, it better be ears up. And if you're putting crap in it, I'm going to slap you. Anyways, we are the B Team, brought to you by Jackrabbit Hill Illustrated, part of the Splitting Hairs podcast group. Also on the FCS Fans Nation podcast network. Thanks for joining us. If you are listening, this is kind of a special Tuesday edition. We'd like to say thank you to our title sponsors, Drake's Place in Bottle, South Dakota. Stop on by if you want phenomenal pizza, calzones, sandwiches, chicken. They got everything there. Breakfast, the whole 9 yards. Ben has already been fined. He's not even here, so he doesn't get fined. He's just here and getting fined, which is amazing. And then also thank you to our other title sponsor, Cottonwood Coffee and Bistro in Brookings, South Dakota. Stop into Minnesota area Walmarts to pick yourself up some if you can't get to Brookings. If you are in Brookings, stop by, grab a cup of coffee, some breakfast. Or if you want to order online, go online, order yourself some delicious coffee from the Cottonwood Coffee and Bistro. Online, use the code JI22 for 10% off your order at the checkout. Some items might not apply. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Now we got that lengthy bit done.
See, I had full confidence that you could handle that without me.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. Oh,
also,
man,
I forgot I wanted a red beer, so I had to make myself one quick.
Why do you got to ruin beer?
Why? And that better not be an ears up, or I'm going to slap you. What?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Beer doesn't need shit in it.
Just Busch Light.
This isn't like a martini.
Doesn't need shit in it.
With a lot of olives.
Right. This isn't a martini.
Because that makes it better.
You know that, right?
I'm just saying.
It's such a Dakota's thing to put crap in your beer. Like, I didn't know that was a thing until I moved out here, and I was appalled and shocked. And yeah, I don't know. My wife loves it. That and the pickles and beer. Ariel loves pickles and beer. So my favorite thing is when we're out of state, and then she orders pickles and beer, and they just are like, I don't know. So they grab a handful of pickle chips and drop them in the beer like you heathens deserve.
Okay. Along those lines, it was, I think, about a year ago, and it was scarring. That's why I remember exactly when it happened. I ordered a red beer with olives. They gave me chopped green olives.
That is exactly what you deserve. I hope they got stuck in your teeth while you.
Oh, it was so chunky and gross when you're trying to drink it.
Well, isn't that what happens with full olives? It's chunky and gross.
Ariel's got a point. She does green olives. So
see, it's delicious.
That's true. Still, I don't. It's exactly what you deserve. If I opened a bar in South Dakota, I think I would do that just to be a pest about it. Shout out to my wife. I got new headphones. These things are sweet. These things are awesome. I'm pretty excited about those. So, anyways, but it's heck of a game this week. Like Jim Poppin says, I got some airtime on the FCS Fans Nation pod. That's because I put in some questions. You guys all know you guys all can get time. If you want to get time on the show, it's just a matter of nailing that sweet spot when they give like an hour to ask questions on Facebook. They answer everybody's questions that are asked.
It's the true, it's called the FCS Fans Nation for a reason, because they use fan input to create or to decide what the show is going to be about. So definitely go check those guys out. But we're here to talk about Jackrabbit football.
Yes.
Hobo Day. I wasn't able to get there very early, so you're going to have to tell me how the tailgating went.
Bad. Tailgating was awesome. Really good time. Obviously, what's the look for, Chad?
I was just going to ask if he was early like he was at the podcast. Is that fair to say?
He was about that early. Yeah.
I said I wasn't.
Everything was taken care of. Anyways, so the tailgate was phenomenal. Got to see Matt. He come by our tailgate and then went up and got to see the parents' tailgate and the Gronowskis and all those guys. went over to the Drake's tailgate. That was pretty cool. Getting to see that. That was fun. Terry Youngin brought over his homemade margarita machine, which a little bit of work in progress, but I think sweet. So that was really cool. But it was the Hobo Day tailgate, man. It's awesome. It's always awesome. I met a bunch of people who listen to the podcast. It was the first time I was stopped like on my walk to the backyard with someone being like, "Hey, I listen to the pod." So that was cool. Mm-hmm. So the tailgate was great. I would say the tailgate was on par with how the game went.
Did anybody comment on our new sign?
A lot of people commented on the new sign. The new sign's sweet.
Good.
She's a beauty. I don't know if I put a picture on Twitter, and I don't know if I dare right now.
We should have.
Yeah,
but we may have fans sign the sign.
Yes, that's something we were talking about, getting a white magic marker.
How about a silver magic marker?
Sign it.
I said silver too. I thought it'd be cool.
Silver.
Whatever. Yeah.
Silver. Yeah. It's agreed.
I don't even know if they make white ones. Honestly, I just was going with the colors. Yes, Ariel didn't get to see it either. I'll shoot you a text, honey. It's in the garage.
Anyway, on to the game. It did go extremely well. Jim's like, hey, idiots, stop.
Yeah, stop it. Nobody cares anymore. The funny part is the hair raisers, because we tailgate with those guys. Listen to their pod too. If you listen to us, they do a great job. But the hair raisers, they looked at that and they called it right away when we brought up the cool thing we were going to have. Phil was like, it's a banner, isn't it? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I saw Ben when he saw it and thought it was really cool. I'm like, oh yeah. So they were questioning a little bit if they should get a new banner. I'm like, no, yours still looks great, but I mean, do what you gotta do. They threw out some fun ideas. They actually were throwing out the idea of us bringing the podcast stuff up and doing a FCS game day type setup from our tailgate when we do home games, which
I like this.
Could be fun. So maybe we'll see if viewers want to weigh in on that, if that's something they'd want to see or not. But anyways, the Wi-Fi would be the issue. So
that would be pretty good during like a playoff game when there's not as many people quite.
Right.
I think it wouldn't work well for Hobo Day because there's just so much going on.
Well, and the crowd was phenomenal this year.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. I mean,
almost a sellout.
Right. And
just short.
The thing was, I heard somebody say, I can't believe that was the biggest crowd in Hobo Day history, but we forget how much bigger the Dana is than Coughlin Alumni. Like Coughlin Alumni had maybe 10,000 actual seats, and then they slammed 7,000 people around the fence in standing room only. But it's not the best way to watch a game, but it's just so much bigger. I mean, you get over that 18,000 mark, it's pretty much bigger than anything Coughlin could ever hold.
Ariel asked, what was the seat count? I think it was just over 19,000, right?
Yeah, it was 19,041. Yeah.
There you go.
In stereo.
I just saw your text, Brendan. I did not forget.
Okay, I just want to make sure. When a guy shows up after the clock flips to 8 o'clock, I get
on mine.
Antsy.
It was still 7:59 on mine. I had time to spare.
You can tell that guy's never been in the military.
This explains a lot of things, my man. It really does.
All right, For now, we're really gonna move on to the game now.
Yeah, this time we mean it. Okay, yeah, sure.
So, sadness, we didn't get our 50 butter burger.
So close again.
So close.
Right next to the 50 butter burger. It was right in our face.
We had 42 with like 10 minutes left in the third quarter, and I was like, it's gonna happen today, and it just didn't, and that's sad because we wanted that Culver's 50 butter burger. We'll get it. We're gonna get it sometime this year. I feel it. But the good thing is, again, the same as the week prior, no field goals.
Right.
All touchdowns. We had 7 touchdowns against UND, 7 touchdowns against Indiana State. And that is huge to be able to finish off drives with touchdowns and not field goals. It was something that we struggled with early in the year. And it seems like, I don't know, Lujan's kind of in a groove right now. Somebody mentioned that we just haven't mentioned Lujan much, and that's a good thing. And it's because Dallas was talking about that, how it's he's in a groove, and he's calling good plays, and guys are executing. As far as the offense goes, like, huge credit to our offensive line. They absolutely dominated that game.
Yes.
The holes to run through were just massive. Like 3 touchdown runs, I think they just didn't get touched, which is ridiculous. Like, you usually get one of those maybe, and Gronowski had all the time in the world to throw the ball on almost every pass he made. So yeah, huge credit to the 605 Hogs.
Well, that's what I was going to say with our red zone percentage going up. I think part of that is, Luan getting in a groove. And I think the bigger part of that is the offensive. I had a gym teacher used to say that the offensive line really gelling together. The Hogs are really starting to perform well over these last couple of weeks. So you can tell they're really clicking that. And I love that play when they shift Mark over and then do the direct snap to the running back. Mm-hmm. You can see, because Mark is such a running threat, when they do the read option off of it, they have to respect him. And you can see the dudes jump outside towards it. And that's part of why that play's so wide open, because their outside backers are having to respect Mark. And and the Red Sea opens up when you're with the line blocking like they are right now. And it's been just a lot of fun to watch that play. Really enjoyed it. And
then, no doubt.
Like Randy Jacobs says, it would have been 50 Butterburger if they hadn't done such a good job containing our tight ends. The 13 personnel is just fun. It's just fun to watch, man. It is so fun to watch because we're so dangerous out of it compared to what any other team can throw out there. I can't imagine being a defensive coordinator trying to plan for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, having Tucker Kraft out there is just a complete game changer. He eats yards when he gets the ball. Like it's like he gets the ball and then he's 25 yards downfield immediately. Like, I don't know how he does it, but he's like a running back when he gets in the open field. His vision is really good. His agility is really good.
Yep.
And he's hard to bring down. And he's a problem for the rest of the FCS if he's healthy. So yeah, it's just fun to watch. Back to those run plays, they did, I think, a read option one time and then like a fake pitch to him the next time. Yeah, I mean, and it's so hard to stop. Outside of that, huge credit to Amara again. He's looking good. Angel Johnson had some nice runs. We saw some of the potential that, we've kind of talked about and, kind of wanted him to get some carries because I think he's got the chance to be a pretty good back. Outside of that, don't know anything else on our offense. Mike Morgan getting a touchdown. That was fun to see right before half, and love the aggressiveness, as Chad mentioned, on the A-team. Not just playing for a field goal, going for a touchdown there. It was awesome. And then Gronowski. I mean, what else? You can't say enough good things about him. Like, the dude just comes out every week and is solid, doesn't make mistakes. Makes good throws away the ball when he needs to. I think it was like 23 or 28 of the 5 incompletions. I think at least 3 of those 5 were like throwaways where there was nothing there. He just did the smart thing. And so, I mean, basically 2 incompletions is all he had. And it's just, I don't know. He's just fun to watch. He's a gamer, man.
Right. And, I was listening to the Stig show and somebody asked about, because Stig's been talking about how the game slowed down so much for him already at his age. And somebody asked, kind of what's that mean? And I assume a lot of our listeners probably know, what that means. And Stig described it. But for me, it's kind of like the difference between the first time you ever get behind the wheel of a car and you're trying to drive and you're just trying to look at everything at once and your brain doesn't process it as that fast because you're new and you're looking for other cars and you're nervous. And then after you've drove for 5-10 years where you could be eating a Big Mac while you're driving down the road and still have your stuff together, for most people, not everybody. But I mean, you can see how slow the game is for him. That mustache that he's got going on is a thing of beauty.
I hope he keeps it.
It's phenomenal. Well, we were talking with Deb Gronowski, and she said it has to do something to do with he's doing whatever the linebackers do to their new guys or something.
Really?
Or it has to do with the linebackers doing their facial hair that way. And then she's worried because they make the freshman linebackers dye theirs. So she's worried he's going to dye it. I don't think he has to. That thing, I mean, immediate top 10 mustache in the FCS. That thing is elite.
Yeah,
it's really impressive. If he walked down like in LA and was walking around with that, he might get some explicit movie contract offers just for the mustache itself. That's amazing. But
that's a good way to say that without saying it.
Yeah, see, look at I'm genuinely trying, Matt, to clean myself up.
So you're saying it's a star stash?
Did you
a star stash? Yes.
Did you pay your fines from the last F-bomb from the last episode?
I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't worry about it. We're on to Northern Iowa. It's
all right.
No, for tackling. You brought up Kraft. I did want to bring this up. You brought up Kraft being hard to bring down. The Yankee brothers.
Yeah.
Those two guys, you think about them, I don't know, maybe it's just me. When you think of the Yankees and when they burst onto the scene, they were big play, deep post routes or, routes over the middle, catching the ball, great hands, separation, that sort of stuff. Those guys are so hard to bring down. They have turned so many of those little wide receiver screens from 2 to 3 yards into 7 because they just run over cornerbacks and drag them.
Yeah.
That is a huge, huge asset. I know, Chad, you hate it. You can hate 6 yards of play all day. And it's just not the best look, but you can wear that all day if you want, buddy. That play has been dynamite for us. It just has.
They got an attitude to them that it's just like they refuse to go down. They're like, you're not going to get away with that easy of a tackle on me. Like, you're going to have to try harder than that. You're probably going to need somebody else to come bring me down.
Yep, at least.
Just think if we actually blocked well for it, how well it could work.
Well, Chad, you save some of that salt for the roads in the winter here, buddy.
All right. Well, let's move on to the defense. The chain gang just keeps dominating. And, we've mentioned it a few times this year and over the past few years, how like our offensive and defensive lines being really good and deep have allowed us to be on this run that we're on. And it just continues to be evident that like teams cannot handle our defensive line, that they cannot handle our 4 down linemen getting pressure without having to bring anybody else. And they can't handle how fresh we can stay without too much of a drop off or any drop off in talent. It's just extremely difficult to deal with. And it's just so fun to watch.
Right. Oh yeah. The defense, I was really impressed with how the linebackers have been stepping up with Bach gone, and then you had Spalding gone. These young guys just keep coming in and making plays, and you can see them get more comfortable. Peyton Schaefer was all over the place. Dude was a beast yesterday on Saturday. It was a lot of fun to see. We can get to what David's bringing up later, and we talk about the national landscape things later here. But yeah, no, the defense has been a riot to watch. That was a good offense. Like, that was a very good offense. They've been putting points up on everybody. Sans Montana. So to hold them to 7 when they go for it, what would they have 8 attempts on 4th down?
Right.
I mean, they did what a team that only has 1 win should do against the number 1 team, and that is throw all your chips on the table.
Right.
And it's annoying, but I don't blame them for doing it. That's totally acceptable. They were trying to win. They did not just show up to, take a loss and leave. They came to win, and you could see it in the way they called the game.
Yeah.
But it was really impressive what the defense did. Essentially held them for under 100 yards rushing because of that fake punt they went over, which I don't really hold against the defense. That's
those count as rushing yards?
Sure did. That's a rushing play, buddy. That's 29 yards of rushing. That put them over 100 yards of rushing. You betcha. I really love seeing both Yankees back on the punt return. That seemed to work so smooth.
I was interested in that. It worked out a couple times. I do wonder if it's more difficult to guard for fake punts if you got 2 guys back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it causes problems in coverage because you're running down there and you don't know where the ball is. You're trying to watch to see where the guy is, and you don't know which of those two guys are going to catch the punt. So I do like seeing some creativity in that area. I don't like seeing that fake punt work so well because our guys were just lost and didn't know that it was even happening. But what do you do?
Well, that happened. I looked over at Chad and I said, "Boy, I'm glad we had two guys back because he was all the way through the front
exactly.
So yeah, I'm glad we had two guys back there to get a shot on him.
Yeah, they did not. They did not know. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Tammy or Terry, was talked about how we didn't punt until like late fourth or mid fourth quarter, which is awesome. Our starting offense did not have to punt the ball at all, which is perfect.
Like 7 straight touchdown drives.
Cannot ask for better than that. Back to the defense one time. Another game with an interception. I think it's 12 or 13 straight.
I think it's more than that.
It's something
crazy. I feel like it's more than that. It dates around way 13. Into last year.
Yeah.
Because I think it was in the teens before like the Missouri State game. If I remember right. We're gonna have to look that up. We need to get a stats guy.
Yeah. Chad,
Chad.
You want to go ahead and
Chad, that's why I said we need a stats guy. Not that you're supposed to be the stats guy. He's giving us these looks like, what else do I have to do in this place?
Wait, you can see Chad when he's off screen? I can't even see him.
Yeah, you're not worthy.
All right.
Yeah, we've discussed this before.
If you were to log in just one time from your browser and actually log in instead of follow the link, then you would have these capabilities, but you are just not special-ish enough. So,
all right.
Yeah. And that's why your face freezes.
Maybe it's why your face freezes.
Now you're faking. Yeah. you have me until your eyeballs move a little bit. Yeah. That was almost good. And then you screwed it up.
Anyway.
We are plus 12 turnover margin, like Rick Jensen says. That's what we're.
Which is unreal. I don't know how sustainable that is, but I love that our defense is getting the ball back to the offense as soon as possible. Last thing on the defense, you mentioned the linebackers. Jason Freeman just keeps shining. Dude had 10 tackles. Savion Williamson had 5. Peyton Schaefer had 4. And then Stallbird he's just such a luxury to have that hybrid safety linebacker.
Yeah, we're not going to have him for the first half.
Well, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that sucks.
And it's complete bull.
Well, it's just that's following the letter of the law instead of the spirit of the law is what it is.
Oh, exactly. There needs to be a change to that where they need to allow some judgment of was it egregious or not. Like of his helmet touched the face mask, probably. Sure. Does he deserve to be ejected and be out for the start of the next game or the first half of the next game? Absolutely not. It wasn't even close to being like on purpose or egregious. And I don't even think if the guy doesn't jump and have the top of his helmet come down on the top of Stallbird's helmet, that's not going to be a penalty. If he doesn't jump, Stallbird had his head to the side and would have hit his shoulder, would have been a clean hit. And it's just like when receivers are downfield and a DB is going in for the tackle and the receiver lowers his level and then they hit helmets and then it's the DB's fault. It's like there has to be some judgment there of like, was it the guy's fault or was it just because of the way the play happened? And it's just ridiculous that isn't that ability to make that judgment.
Well, here's the issue I have with it, because I think we all can agree that by the letter of the law, it was, well, by the letter of the law, targeting happens more than once. I mean, that happens a lot. By rule, I think there's sometimes targeting should be called on running backs who are lowering their helmets into other people's helmets, but that never gets called. So what this sort of a targeting getting called after Graham getting called for it tells me, in the amount of times we've had targetings reviewed and looked at, it tells me this is something that the MVFC officials have talked to each other and are telling each other to look out for this, or opposing coaches are bringing it up for the game because we're a hard-hitting team and they are watching for it. I promise you that's what's happening, because every team, if you're officiating really any sport, and you're in a level like that, or where there's a conference or whatever, hey, this team likes to do this. Let's keep an eye out for it. Let's keep that under control, yada, yada, yada. And it really feels like they're just they're looking for that. And I'm really concerned that we're going to start having one a game until the season's over and we get rest from another conference. And it really bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a problem. Seth Meyer corrected us. He's our stats guy. He said we didn't get an interception against the Bobcats last year, regular season. It's 14 games straight with an interception.
Well, then, I guess I was wrong. But Seth, you're hired. Congratulations.
Impressive either way. Yep. The pay's not great.
The pay's not great, but we can have you be like JI Stats on Twitter or something. Like the ESPN Stats and Info, GI Stats and Info. That position's open. If there's an aspiring college student who likes to look stuff up.
Right.
We forgot to mention the game recap is brought to you by Dakota Iron out of Sioux Falls. Stop on by for all your heavy or even mostly heavy duty, but also light duty equipment needs for construction work or anything along those lines on the west side of Sioux Falls. Look for Dakota Iron. Or look them up online. Actually, if you pay attention on Midco, they've also got commercials on there as well. So make sure to get a hold of them for all your equipment needs.
Good ad read.
Thanks.
That was smooth.
Was it? Thanks.
I enjoyed it.
I'm trying to get my reading up to a 8th grade level. So
nice.
It feels good when you tell me that.
Did you read it?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was straight off the top of my head. What ad?
Wait a minute. I thought all of our ad reads were not right on the podcast. Maybe Matt reads it. I don't know.
I'm trying to get 8th grade level of reading.
Well, I was making a joke. And then you got all serial about it. What, do you actually think that I don't read at an 8th grade level?
That's not the point.
Do you think so little of me, Ben? Is that where we're at?
Anyway, Seth says he'll accept PBR as payment.
Do you think any of us have PBR?
Maybe we'll give you ears up as payment. PBR, I don't know about that.
1.5 ears up.
Sounds like you got some ears up to Ray Gronowski.
Yep.
I saw him at the concessions.
Look up. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that was good. All right, I think that's it for Hobo Day.
They sent Mark all over town looking for ears up, and he couldn't find it. Yeah,
we got you covered, Mark. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, poor guy running all over town, and I'm like, oh yeah, I just went like 5 minutes down the road and picked up like a case. Hey,
nice. All right, anything else about Hobo Day, or can we move on?
No, I think we can move on just with. The game went exactly how we wanted to. We got to rest guys. And we got a really tough game coming up next. Per protocol, UNI is fighting for their stupid playoff lives, their stupid dome. We will, after this weekend, we will have been in. We'll have played games in 3 of the 5 FCS domes, I believe. Because there's Idaho State. We'll be at 50% of them because there's Idaho State, Northern Arizona, USD, UND, so it'd be 3 out of 7. Dang, that number was so much more impressive when I started talking. Sounded so much better in my head. So the rest of my brain caught up.
We'll talk about UNI in a little bit. We're going to recap our picks. We didn't do great this week. After our 2 weeks of doing really well, we've done 2 weeks of not so well. UND did not cover against Abilene Christian, but they did win 34-31. Youngstown State whooped up on USD, who seems like they've given up on the season. Youngstown State won 45-24.
So much for that new quarterback.
I didn't even look. How did he play? Did he do good?
He played. He played the whole game. I don't know how he did.
They put in.
Nah.
17-30. That's
not ideal. Yeah.
Nope. Okay. Missouri State showed they still have a pulse. 64-16 is what they beat Western Illinois. We both put faith in Western Illinois.
What were we thinking? That's It's like putting faith in your local YMCA club football team to play Missouri State and put up a fight.
And then they go and lose. They go and lose by 48. Nice job, Western Illinois. UNI and Southern Illinois had a crazy game.
Yes.
Southern Illinois had a chance to win it at the end. They got down to the 1 yard line with a Hail Mary. They couldn't do it. So UNI keeps their playoff hopes alive. UNI won 37-36 and covered. And then we've got NDSU beat in Illinois State 24-7. That's the only game that I covered, and I covered by half a point. So,
and I think I picked. Did I pick Illinois State?
No, you had NDSU in that one.
I did. Okay.
Yeah.
God. All right.
So I needed that one. Thanks, Illinois State, for hanging on there. And then neither of us had faith in SDSU, which is rare. And we got burnt for it though. We won 49-7. The line is only 25.5. So.
Hey, you know what? I will be happy to be burned every time.
I was gonna say you got burned 2 weeks in a row, so you're gonna keep the streak going.
Yeah, I mean, I might. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what the line is this week, but and it's kind of funny. That kind of goes hand in hand with Mark being like, "I'm tired of people talking about us having a letdown game," and it's like, yeah, I get it. I do get how that would be annoying, but. Now it's UNI week, and we're pretty worried about that because those guys have just been the bane of our existence for the last decade now. And you know what? It's better to be talking about the upcoming game possibly being a letdown game instead of talking about the game in the past having been a letdown game. So I will take Mark being a little frustrated with us, and that's fine. Mark, you can be as mad as you want at me. As long as you take it out on that purple team this weekend, I'm totally down with it.
Yeah, we'll provide as much bulletin board material as you want us to.
Yeah. Do you need me to make stuff up? I can be ridiculous and say stuff I don't believe, but we are trying to be straight with people here too when we say stuff. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So to recap, I went 1-5, not great. You went 2-4. 29-30 overall, and you're 30-29 overall. So that is where we're at with the picks. Let's do the Missouri Valley standings.
Fade Brendan Get Rich was brought to you by Shenanigans Pub, Sioux Falls. If you aren't going there, stop by Shenanigans for the away game this weekend. And the South Sioux Empire Staters will also be there having a party. Go on down, partake, have some drinks, watch the game, have a good time. They always have the TV announcers on over the speakers in the restaurant, so you get to keep up with the game really well. So go on down to Shenanigans, grab you some food and beer, and watch the Jacks play if you can't make it down to Northern Iowa, even though it sounds like a huge amount of Jacks fans are going to UNI.
Right. Are you going down to UNI or to Shenanigans?
I might go to Shenanigans. I'm thinking of going. I'm going to Shenanigans. Work is keeping me in town. I got to be on call over the weekend. So
I think
there should be a lot of. What's
Matt
up?
Matt and I are going with Rick Jensen. So
it sounded like Dallas is going too.
And Dallas is likely going. I was just gonna hop on and say they do have like a promo code for like $10 tickets. So don't do like one listener and buy a $40 ticket.
Womp womp.
That's all I.
Yeah, so if
check
you do want to go to
that code.
If you want to go to the UNI game, make sure you pay $10, not $40. Thank you for that, Pudding Shot Santa. I love that he changed his name.
That's his name, Pudding Shot Santa.
I love it.
Were you there for that? Yeah, no, you weren't there for that on Hobo Day. He's become Pudding Shot Santa. We're gonna get him a whole outfit.
I'm the one that
playoff games
coined it on the meme I made.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. It's got steam.
I'm glad it's a thing. I'm glad it's a thing.
Look at him. Look at him. We're gonna paint his beard white. And he's gonna go around to the ho-ho-hos and give him pudding shots.
All right. Anyway, yes, do go to Shenanigans if you can. I cannot, but that should be a good time this weekend. So Chad's got the Missouri Valley Conference standings up. SDSU is sitting atop pretty comfortably, 6-0 in the conference. Then we've got NDSU at 4-1, Northern Iowa and Southern Illinois at 4-2, Illinois State and UND at 3-2, along with Youngstown State at 3-2. And then we've got some not so good stuff going on at the bottom. Missouri State and USD 1-4, Indiana State and Western Illinois 0-5. Do we want to talk about playoff implications at this point for the Valley?
Yeah, I'm down.
So the big question is that a lot of people in the FCS landscape are talking about is just how many teams, keep those standings up if you can, Chad.
If you could, Chad, back up.
Just how many of the Missouri Valley teams are going to make it to the playoffs? You usually need, pretty much almost always you need at least 7 FCS wins to make it to the FCS or FBS wins to make it to the playoffs. Now, the interesting thing is there are quite a few teams that have the opportunity to get to 7.
Yes.
But the question will be, is the Valley strong enough this year to get multiple 7-win teams in? Brendan, your thoughts?
It's kind of a multiple point question because not every one of these teams are going to be able to get to 7. I believe Illinois State and Youngstown State play each other
this week. That's a big game. That's essentially an elimination game, the Illinois State Southern Illinois game. So you're going to knock one of those up.
And I think Youngstown State plays Southern Illinois later too, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, but either way, some of these teams are just going to knock themselves out by default. I do think the national image is a little bit overblown because people like Kyler Neal, we love you, Kyler. He claims he doesn't dislike the Valley. He's got a raging hate boner for the Valley, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like if I was a Big Sky or CAA or OVC or whatever fan, I would be gleefully tap dancing on the graves of the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Is the Missouri Valley Football Conference the best conference in the country right now? No, I don't think you can look somebody in the eye and make that statement when Southern Illinois very well could be the 3rd best team in the conference, and they got it pushed in by Incarnate Word, who, they're ranked in the top 10, but if they play a Valley team of 2 years ago or a year ago or whatever, that's a top 3 in the Valley team, they most certainly don't win by 40. So there's some of that going on. I do think the Valley will for sure have 3 to 4 teams in. I don't think there's any way we get 5. If we end up with a logjam of 7 of 4 teams that end up with 5 teams eligible, if you so to speak, for the playoffs, we're not getting 5. Somebody's getting left home, and it'll be because of having no good wins. Southern Illinois, if they do get to 7-5, I think they're kind of a lock to get in because they do have that FBS win. Northern Iowa, if Northern Iowa gets to 7-5, they're a lock because that means they beat us. So they will have a win against the number 1 team in the country on their resume. And when it comes to bubble teams, no bubble team's going to have that sort of resume. It is tough though, because if you look around the country, you've got a 9-2 Fordham team who just took Holy Cross, who, whether they're actually this good or not, based off of resume, is ranked in the top 10, and they just took them to however many overtimes. And then they took their FBS game to multiple overtimes. 3, Chad's showing. So there, if you're a 7-4 team with wins against, USD, Missouri State, Western Illinois, and Indiana State, I would not be feeling too comfortable with that without any good out-of-conference wins. And nobody really has many good out-of-conference wins except for us, by the way. That UC Davis win was getting poo-pooed, and they are starting to the only phrase I can think of, I'm trying to avoid talking like that on the air. So they're starting to paddle some teams, and it's fun to watch. They're pretty good.
They're starting to come on late, like a racehorse.
Yes. And we all knew they were a good team. So we might end up with the best out of conference win outside of Southern Illinois' win over Northwestern.
Chad,
But
I love how you're on screen, but you're not.
He's Wilson
Not an accident,
right now,
is it?
But he's Wilson from Home Improvement right now, just peeking over. Oh, hidey ho there, neighbor.
Just hidden behind the comments.
I want to be on screen, but also not on screen. I just want people to know I'm here. I don't want them to know what I'm doing.
Well, I can't talk if I'm off screen now, can I?
He's Hoover and Schneef down below that. Look at him go.
I knew we were going to work that in this week after our discussion last week.
Yes. But
speaking of Schneef, isn't there a guy on UNI whose name's vaguely like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Schneef.
But anyway. The other issue is if you look at the Ron, I think you're smoking some crack. The Valley probably gets 3 in. If I'm sorry, that is your Big Sky hate boner, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're probably going to get 2 at-large bids. It's the way it goes.
We still love you, Ron.
Not the first time Ron said something outlandish on the pod.
Right. The other issue is, though, when you're an at-large team right now, what is going to be killer for at-large spots is you need Southeastern Louisiana to lose. Because as of right now, they would not get an at-large in any way, shape, or form. But because they snuck one out on Incarnate Word, they're going to get the auto bid if they win out. So Incarnate Word's going to take an at-large spot because they're ranked in the top 10 in most polls, or at least top 12. So they're not getting kept out. So that's going to steal a spot. And unless stuff really gets sideways, it'll be very curious. But you could say, yeah, UC Davis is 6th in the Big Sky, but look at how the better Big Sky teams beat them by what? The 2-1 score games, Ron? Or that one offshoot after they played at number 1, number 2, and number 4 in the country's places, and then had to play a 5th game against the top 5 or top 10 ranked team, beat them. That does matter, and it was on the road. So, but anyways,
that's the thing. Like, yeah, that doesn't need to be
without getting too lost into the semantics of it. The reality is I get it. The Big Sky is the best conference in the country right now. Got it. That's fine. You're still not better than South Dakota State as it sits right now. We'll find out in the playoffs, but resume wise,
yeah. So SDSU and NDSU are locks. UNI is the next team down. They have to win both of their remaining games. Mm-hmm. One of them is against us this week, which makes it so dangerous, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's assume that we win that game. UNI is not in. Right. Southern Illinois has to win their next 2 games. One of those games is at NDSU. I think it's at NDSU, is it? Or is it at Southern Illinois? At Southern Illinois. But anyway, against NDSU. Let's go ahead and assume NDSU wins that one. Southern Illinois is not making the playoffs. And then UND is likely making the playoffs based on their remaining schedule. So they probably are the 3rd kind of shoe-in in the Valley right now. And then it comes down to Illinois State and Youngstown State. That's going to be likely the 4th team to get in, and they play this week. So that's a huge game in the Valley this week between Youngstown State and Illinois State, because the loser of that game will not make the playoffs. The winner still probably could. Even if Illinois State loses if they win this week and then lose against us next week, they could still get to 7 wins and make the playoffs. So now Youngstown State could also, I guess, get to 7 wins, but that's less likely. I guess they play Missouri State and Southern Illinois the last 2 games. But the point is, there's a very strong possibility that Missouri Valley only gets 3 in. They're not going to only get 2 in. There is a small chance that they get 4 in. There's no chance that they get 5 in. Does that sum it up pretty well?
Yeah, I think the only way the Valley ends up with like 2 teams in is if
UND would have to trip on their against Indiana State or USD.
And I'm going to get into that with UND. So you need UND to stumble against USD or Indiana State. Mm-hmm. You need Southern Illinois to stumble in their next game. Then you need Southern Illinois and UND to beat North Dakota State. And then you need and that would knock those 3 teams out of contention.
So we're not even NDSU isn't even getting in the playoffs. In this
exactly.
Scenario.
That's what I'm saying. That's what would happen.
Are we down to one Valley team at this point?
I think you'd get a Youngstown State or somebody in there, but that would be the doomsday scenario for the Missouri Valley. Which, by the way, I'm all for it. I'm loving these playoff brackets without Valley teams in it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, dude, these are the best. We don't have to play a team for a second time this year. I hope they all lose. I hope none of them make the playoffs. I hope SDSU is the only one in the playoffs. We get the number 1 seed, and none of them else make the playoffs. That would be just fantastic.
Or watch us get opposite sides of the bracket and both end up in the finals, because that's happened.
Yeah, like only 2 Valley teams make it, and we're in the opposite sides of the bracket, and we still both make it to Frisco.
Right,
it could happen.
That would make the Big Sky so angry.
It would be fun, but I
don't love it.
I have a hard time right now seeing NDSU win a road semifinal game as they're currently playing.
Depends who the matchup is.
Right.
Because the thing is, does the Big Sky look pretty good right now? Yeah, but I don't know how much confidence I have I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Weber State. Weber State almost just beat Montana State, and Sac State is the one that's probably looking the best so far. And they've still got, is it 2 tough games left, or is it just 1? But they haven't had to play Montana State. And so I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's still, so Sac State plays Weber State this week, so we'll see how that goes. And then they have to play UC Davis the last game of the year. So we'll see how Sac State finishes out. But, the Big Sky is talking pretty highly of themselves right now, but we'll see come playoff time.
Ron's going to be so mouthy once the playoffs start. It's going to be just unbelievable.
It.
And, we probably don't want to get too
Ron's our new Patrick Ferks. Like, whatever happened to that
and that's okay. Yeah, I don't remember what happened to Patrick.
I like Ron. He's good.
I like Ron better. Ron's more fun than Patrick.
I do too.
Sorry, Patrick.
What did you say we don't want to get in the weeds on?
Too far into the playoff predictions, because let's all remember we have an end of the week bye, so we can just have a whole episode.
This is true.
Just chopping this up after the Illinois State game. So don't.
It's fun to talk about, though. It's November.
It's so fun to talk about. It's so fun to talk about. It's my favorite.
All right, let's put up the top 25. The top 25 goes SDSU at 1, Sac State, Montana State, Weber State, NDSU at 5, Incarnate Word, Holy Cross, William and Mary, Idaho, and is that Sanford?
Does he know who that is? Yes, that's Sanford.
I did not recognize that logo. Yeah. Did they get a new logo?
Maybe a couple years.
It looks
ago,
newish,
but I think you're used to seeing it with their.
I think the ears are cut off, and that's screwing you up.
Yeah, something's going on there. But anyway,
they're not cut off. That's how their logo is.
Anyway, so that's the top 10, and then go to the rest of the top 25. And for Valley teams, we've got UND is the only one sitting at number 24. Ron Lowney says, do us a favor and send Montana to NDSU. Sure.
I'd rather that Montana got sent to us.
That'd be great.
I mean, if you want a revenge tour, you want a true revenge tour, it would be sending Montana to us and then NDSU to us and having both their playoff dreams die in Brookings after the amount of times that role's been reversed. I want them to be freezing and miserable. But as we said, that's in the future. This is now.
Agreed. So what we need to talk about now is this week's picks. Speaking of NDSU, they go to Western Illinois. This spread, I don't understand what's going on here, because the site that I get spreads from now says that NDSU is only favored by 10.5 in this game.
NDSU.
Duh.
We don't even need to talk about it. That's NDSU.
No. Oh, okay. Whoa. Okay, no. I got these backwards.
Oh, you're killing the smalls.
UND is favored by 10.5. NDSU is favored by 28.5. Now that's a little more of a decision to make.
Oh, so what's NDSU favored by?
28.5.
28.5. Give me NDSU.
I think so too. After Western Illinois got stomped by 48 against Missouri State.
Well, the thing is with that game is Western can't run the ball very well. They pass, and NDSU's defensive strength is against the pass. They're very good against the pass on defense, and Western sucks on defense. So, yeah, I think they win by 25. I think they win by 28 or 35. Depends what they're feeling that day.
Agreed. Yep, I will take NDSU in that one as well. And then you've got UND going to Indiana State, who we just played. UND is favored by 10.5.
I am going to take the trees.
Ooh.
Here's why. I'm probably outthinking myself on this a little bit, but here's the deal. Look at how Indiana State's performed at home against conference teams. They've done pretty well. Their offense is pretty good. Their defense sucks. UND's defense sucks. So you've got two good offenses against two good defenses, and they're two offenses that don't control the ball. They throw the ball more. So it's at Indiana State. UND just gave up 31 points to Abilene Christian, who beat they beat a garbage team down the Southland by like 3 points. Like, I was just looking at this, and that's at home. And we know what UND does on the road. So I'm going to take the trees all day. And this might actually be the game I actually put money on this year, is that game there. I might even put some money on Indiana State to win and ruin North Dakota's playoff chances, or make so North Dakota has to win at NDSU.
Is that like just out of spite?
No. I would not be shocked. Indiana State has been close enough that at some point they're going to ruin somebody's season, and I think this is the season that does it. UND just had two emotional games. One, I mean, their crotch parts are still sore from getting their faces stomped in against us, and then they have a nail biter against Abilene Christian of all teams.
Stomp their faces so hard that their crotch parts hurt.
Yeah, all the blood from up in their head got pushed down there, and it hurt.
Anyway,
I was going to say something else.
You were thinking of Southern Utah.
Yeah, who's not good.
Yeah,
like they're improved, but I mean, if they're in the Valley, they're
awful.
Yeah.
All right. So you picked Indiana State. I will also pick Indiana State. I think that's going to be a very high-scoring game. The total is 57.5. Go over in that one. I think both teams score at least 35.
Yep.
All right. And then Missouri State, who bounced back, they go to USD. Missouri State's favored by 3 in that one. I will take Missouri State there. I don't think USD has it in them to even get up for this game.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You got two teams that seem to have gave up on their seasons, but I think USD, their team's actually, I think the Dome's actually going to have a reverse effect on them when it's not D-Days and they just got pummeled on the road like they did, and they walk out into the Dome and it's just crickets. I think it's going to really mess with them mentally. And God, I don't know. Missouri State's favored by 3.
Yep. This is great podcast audio.
I'm gonna take.
We're gonna check their phones. USD. Like, did my phone just die?
Am I buffering? Am I buffering? Oh, that's great. I've always wanted to try this new move I call buffering.
Aaron says we need a B-Team Mafia bingo game. If Brendan drops an F-bomb, you get a check mark.
Every time he drops an F-bomb, you take a drink.
Well,
that's
only one an episode.
Drink a beer.
It's 3/4 of one on average per episode. Someone keep track of those stats and let me know what my average is per episode.
Seth, our stats guy.
Yeah, stats guy.
All right.
Yeah, stats and info.
So did you end up? Who did you even end up taking? I got so bored, I didn't even listen to who you took.
Brendan, keep your composure, sir. Keep your composure.
I'm trying. He has to say that shit when I'm taking a drink. What dick. I'm gonna take USD just to be opposite of you in the game to get another game lead on you.
All right.
And if I win, then I'm happy. But also if I lose, I'm happy.
Jim Poppin asked if Bob Nielsen is coaching for his job. Maybe.
Potentially,
yeah. He could be.
He loses out bad. It's not a good look.
Yeah, I mean, if you
conversations are happening.
If you go only one win in the Valley, then we've got the big game that we talked about. Youngstown State goes to Illinois State, and this is essentially an elimination game for the playoffs. So it's going to be a pretty fun one to keep track of. Illinois State is favored at home by 1.5 in this one.
I wasn't listening. Seth's comment was too funny. He says he doesn't get paid enough for that effing stat.
I like it.
Played, sir, but he did not fall for the game.
Illinois State favored at home by 1.5.
And they're playing Youngstown?
Yeah, the big game that we've talked about multiple times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Indiana State's going to be banged up because Illinois State's going to be banged up because that was a physical game up in Fargo. I mean, that was a tight game at half, and then they got steamrolled. I'm going to go ahead and take Youngstown State in this one. I think they found something with their quarterback switch a little bit, and McLaughlin's a monster. I think Youngstown is a dark horse to make the playoffs.
This is also a Youngstown State team who beat 2 weeks ago, beat Western Illinois by a single point.
Right. They beat Western Illinois by a point. They're Jekyll and Hyde.
They beat Indiana State the week before by 6 points. So who knows? Who knows?
Ron gets why I don't drink on the podcast. If you've tailgated with me, you understand why I don't drink while I do this podcast.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
He is not mature enough to handle himself on the air when he gets
F-bombs galore. And then on the other side, Illinois State beat Indiana State by 6 points, and they only beat USD by 2 points. So right. I don't know. I don't know who's going to win this game. You took Youngstown State. I'll take Illinois State. I'll take the Redbirds at home here. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be like something stupid like 12-13 or something. Which would not that's not good for me. Let's go 14-12 because I need Illinois State to win by 2 points. Anyway, and then we get to our game against Northern Iowa, which is the reason why everybody showed up and waited 58.5 minutes for us to talk about it.
59:20 if you're being exact.
It's just 58:30 on my end.
Yeah, you're not worthy.
Anyway, what do you think SDSU is favored by in this one? Or are we?
Yeah, or are we? I think we're going to be favored by too many. So I think we're going to be favored by 13.
Okay. Chad, what do you think? Or do you know?
I do not know, but I was thinking in the 17-point range is where we were favored.
Well, this line's going to make you nervous then. We are favored by 8.5 is all.
Oh boy. Mm-hmm. That line. I hate that line. I hate that line
it's so like much. The prognosticators have been listening to us. I'm like, these guys, they think it's going to be a close.
Right. First off, stop listening to us because it makes us harder to keep up our high average on these picks.
Ariel
Second off.
Close.
Did Ariel just guess 8 correctly?
Yeah.
Did she?
Yeah, she guessed 8. Yeah.
Congrats to Ariel. Ariel, you're supposed to be sleeping. You got guards
That's
tomorrow.
That's what I thought. Right,
yeah. It's just drill.
Drill. Anyway, she did nail it. Yeah, so we're favored by 8.5. As we've talked about, UNI needs to win these last 2 games to make the playoffs. It is going to be a dogfight. It's they always play well in their dome. Farley's always got something up his sleeve for us, and it'll be real interesting. UNI, they like to pass the ball. They've got a pretty high-powered offense, but they also have a defense that gives up 400 yards a game. And so, it'll be interesting. Their only losses are to Air Force and Sac State. Sac State's top 2 team in the nation. And then UND by 2 and Illinois State by 2. And both of those are at UND. Right. And both of those are potential playoff teams. And so if we are going into this game thinking, well, they're only 5-4 and they're down there in the Valley standings, and so we should whoop them, think again. This is going to be a really tough game. This is, we've kind of been worried about every game we've had on our schedule after we beat NDSU, just because we want to hold on to that 1 seed. But this was the one we've kind of had circled, like, man, this could be a problem. So we need to go down there and take care of business. Having said who they lost to and how close those games were, they also only beat Indiana State by 6, who is the team we just beat 49-7. So UNI's kind of been up and down this year a little bit. We said they have a solid offense. Our chain gang is going to have to control this game. We're going to have to get to the quarterback early and often. DBs are going to have to lock down their receivers. The defense, or UNI's defense, we can run on them. They do give up quite a few rushing yards. Randy Jacobs says they give up 485 passing yards and got 0 sacks. I assume he's talking about UNI.
Yes.
So their defense is not great, which is surprising because UNI's defense is usually their calling card. But yeah, as I said, we can run on them. We got to control the ball. We got to keep the ball out of their hands, which our offense seems pretty good at doing. And then lastly, we have to finish drives with touchdowns like we've been doing. As long as we do that, as long as we're not settling for field goals, and as long as we're protecting the ball and controlling the clock, I don't think we have a problem. I will take SDSU minus 8.5, and I will predict that we win 42-21.
Okay. So you're taking us. It's all, like you said, it's all going to come down to making Day uncomfortable back there the whole time. Honestly, with the amount of fans it sounds like we have going down there, hopefully we have a ton down there where it's actually, that place can get loud with a small amount of people. If we get enough people down there, we can make it difficult for their offense in their own barn.
It kind of
so
echoes
awesome. like the Alaris a little bit.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
But realistically, what it is it's what they modeled the Dakota Dome after. So, anyways, on that point, it's good on good and then good on not great. So in theory, that should work out. I'm scared of this game turning into a track meet because their offense is fully capable of making that happen, and that's something that makes me nervous. They can spin that football. The dude can just play, and they've got good wide receivers. So if we are giving them time, or they're getting a lot of time, we're going to get picked apart with the power eventually. So, really hope we come out and play really hard. The crazy thing about this is in the last 10 years, the home and road records are flipped. So we've won way more in the UNI Dome, and they've won way more in Brookings, which why, I don't know. I'm assuming Farley and his devil magic for the playoffs has sacrificed at least 13 goats from the top of the UNI Dome. I think to counter that, someone like, say, Chad needs to get 3 sheep and then paint 1, 3, and 4 on them and then let them loose on the UNI campus like Friday night. But no, but in all seriousness, I'm going to go ahead and I hate that line, but I'm going to.
Don't do it. It's worked so well.
Yeah, I'm going to take UNI.
Yes.
I'm going to take the points.
Yes, we're going to win by 40.
I'm just worried about this being a shootout, and that offense at home is going to be tough. So
speaking of being a shootout,
I think we pull it out. But
if you like money, the total on this game is only 48.5.
Yeah, I'd hit the over.
Yeah, if you like money, I'd definitely dabble with the over. Mm-hmm. Get a wild shot. I can't, Chad. When you put up questions,
Chad's
a second at a time.
So Terry was asking how many hard hats Chad's broken. Chad's broken 2. I broke 1 this year. So we've got 3 total between us.
Yeah. Well, there was like 10 people who commented before that, but he flew through them.
Well, he's not expecting us to comment on all of them, but
he's just giving people credit for commenting by putting it up for half a second.
I mean, yeah, I know that's a dig at the Hawkeyes, Ron, but there's definitely offense at UNI. Theo Day is the number 1 quarterback in the conference. He's only had 3 games where he's thrown for less than 300 yards. They're putting up big money points. But yeah, I think, Kraft will have a big day.
Is Ron trying to get on our good side now?
Yeah, I don't know. What are you trying to do here, Ron? What's your mind games here?
I think he's actually a closet SDSU fan. He likes our colors, so
yeah, I think he likes the colors, so he's on board with us. That's all right. You can ride with us, man. You ride with us. You're welcome on the train whenever you want, buddy. But
I like it.
Maybe we'll meet him in Brookings when they come play for the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, they might have the 2 seed when that's all said.
I know they might.
I think Weber's going to beat Sac this week.
I think so too.
Because Weber gave their game away and Sac stole one, and I don't think that's going to go so well against Weber with their defense.
Yep. All right. I think that's all we got here.
Yep.
Either go down to UNI or go to Shenanigans if you can.
Yep.
Perfect. Other than that, go big, go blue,
go
Jacks.
That was way early.